Hi, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new. My name's Dan, and today we're going to be doing a Q&A. I put a post on Letterboxd asking you guys to ask me some questions, and on Twitter and stuff. And yeah, you've spoken, you've asked me your things, and now I'm going to attempt to answer them to the best of my ability. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I've got quite a lot of questions, so this might end up being a two-parter. I'm not sure. We'll have to just see how quickly it takes me and how long it, ends up being after I've edited it and stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is a two-parter, and if it is, I'll probably release this one a week before the second one, so space it out a little bit. I'm just going to be reading these out in the order that I got them, because a lot of people ask the same thing twice, or someone would ask multiple questions, and one of the questions would have already been asked by someone else. So to save anyone from feeling like, why didn't I pick theirs over someone else's, it's literally just a first come, first serve type thing. So I'm just going to go from the first question I got to the last one, and yeah, let's have fun. Oh, and also this is going to be a bit more of a casual video, so I hope you guys don't mind if I have a little cup of tea while I do it. Alright, so let's get into some Q&As. Also, thank you guys for submitting all your questions, and also, part of the reason that I want to do this is because we just hit 1,000 subs, and I wanted to do something a bit different and stuff, and that's what we're doing. So thank you each and every one of you who subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate it, and let's make this a good video, and yeah, let's get on with it. So like Mike 2233 asks, how would you respond to Scorsese's take on Marvel and cinema? Holy shit. Start off with a nice easy one, why don't we? Scorsese's take. Okay, so I can't even remember exactly what he said. From what I remember, Scorsese said something along the lines that Marvel movies aren't real cinema and that they're like roller coaster rides or something to that effect. I love the MCU, and I mean that. I own most of them on Blu-ray. I've seen, I think every one since Age of Ultron I've seen in the cinema. Some of the most entertaining movies of the decade have come out then. You can't deny the success, financially and culturally, and the impact that it's had on popular culture and stuff. But Scorsese is fucking Scorsese, right? Scorsese's probably made 5 movies that are better than anything in the MCU. He's literally one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So, and as much as I genuinely do enjoy the MCU, they're not high art. They're not. You don't watch a Marvel movie for the same reason you would watch a Scorsese movie. A Scorsese movie isn't necessarily more important than a Marvel film. It's just different taste. But I see where he's coming from, and I think he's earned the right to say that. I mean, this is the guy that made Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, The Departed, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Irishman. I think when you've made so many great films like that, I think you can say basically what you want to say. Teddy Perkins asks, does Thanos fuck? Well, he has 2 daughters, so he must have done it at least twice, and they're different colours, which means he must have done it with at least 2 different women. So, Nebula's blue and he's kind of purple, so if Nebula's mum was turquoise, that would make sense. But how did he end up with a green child? What colour was Gamora's mum? Orange? I don't know. If you can figure that one out, let me know. But yes, Thanos does fuck. Okay, Shawnee Boy Dyer asks, best Lord of the Rings film and thoughts on the trilogy as a whole. So in my opinion, the best Lord of the Rings film is Return of the King. I think it's just this big epic conclusion to what is already been a really epic tale. And I think the battle sequences, I think the emotion, all that kind of stuff, the performances, the visual effects, everything's just a little bit better because they've had a bit more time and, it's a little bit later on. Yeah, the cinematography is great, the themes are great, even the ending, which everyone else says is their least favourite part of the whole trilogy. I actually like the ending, and I think it needs a long ending, because when you have an 11.5-hour trilogy, you can't just wrap it up in 10 minutes, you have to have a long ending. So I like all the different endings, and yeah, I think Return of the King is the best one. It's got the highest stakes. It's got just the most dreadful, dire tone, the biggest battle sequences. So yeah, for me, Return of the King is the best of the 3. As for the trilogy as a whole, you guys know I don't like hyperbole. That's why my rating system's so harsh and why I never give 5 stars and stuff. But Lord of the Rings is one of those few films or trilogies or whatever out there that I think is essentially as good as it could possibly be. The only flaws I could really pick with the Lord of the Rings movies is the fact that maybe now when you watch them, the technology on Gollum looks a bit dated, but they'll probably remaster it if they haven't already. But no, I think it's the greatest trilogy of all time, and I think it's the peak of fantasy cinema. And so listen, I've seen like just shy of 2,000 films. Of those, I think I've rated 26 or 27 5 stars. All three Lord of the Rings movies I've rated 5 stars, and no other trilogy has managed that. I would even go as far as to say that if I could, I would rate Return of the King in particular like fucking 6, 7, 8 stars. Like, I think it's amazing. So yeah, I think Lord of the Rings is fucking amazing. Like, amazing cinema. L Bethany 6 asks, favorite actor and actress. I kind of have two favorite actors and a favorite actress. My two favorite actors are Bill Murray and Seth Rogen, and my favorite actress is Emma Stone. If I had a favorite actor, I think I'd go with Bill Murray, but it's so close with him and Seth Rogen, so yeah. Struan asks, what critically acclaimed and loved movie do you not like, and what trash movie do you love? Oh, fuck, this is where I get crucified, isn't it? So there are a few critically acclaimed and generally beloved movies that have not hit the right spot with me. One of them is Rear Window, the Alfred Hitchcock movie. I don't think it's a bad film, I think it's a good film. But it's got I think it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's just generally considered to be one of the greatest movies of all time. And I watched it and I just found it really fucking boring. Children of Men is one as well, everyone seems to talk about as this like absolute masterpiece. And I've watched it once and I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was like fucking amazing or anything. And No Country for Old Men, same thing. Like, generally speaking, I think most people would have that in their like top 10 best movies of the 21st century. It's like really, I mean, didn't it win Best Picture over There Will Be Blood? I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, people go ape shit over No Country for Old Men, and I like it. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I own it. I think it's a very good film. I think it's nicely shot. I think Javier Bardem plays one of the best villains in recent memory, but the film as a whole, I don't feel like it's absolutely amazing, but most people do, so those would be a few. Yeah, and then in terms of trash movies that I love, or guilty pleasure movies, I guess, I have a few. So going back to the Bill Murray thing real quick, with him being my favourite actor, one of the reasons he's my favourite actor is because I grew up watching Garfield and Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties, which is like one of the best movie titles of all time, by the way. It has at least 2 puns in there. A Tale of Two Kitties, yeah, what a fucking movie title that is. And yeah, like I grew up kind of hearing Bill Murray's voice, and even though at the time I couldn't put a face to it, I always kind of feel a bit nostalgic when I hear it. It's like hearing your granddad's voice or something, for me, Bill Murray. So the Garfield movies, yeah, they're up there. The Scooby-Doo movies that were written by James Gunn. And what a cast, by the way. Matthew Lillard, who's one of my favourite actors, that is like one of the most underrated actors of all time, in my opinion. Linda Cardellini, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., what a cast. And then Spider-Man 3, and the Star Wars prequels, which I know a lot, like I've noticed since the new movies have come out that it's kind of become cool again to like a lot of hate has gone from the prequels to the sequels, and a lot of people now kind of are cool with the prequels again. And I think it was always the case that everyone kind of gave Revenge of the Sith a pass because it was just so much fun, and it was this culmination, and it was a kind of a tier above the other two. But for me, I've always had a real soft spot for the Phantom Menace. That was one of the VHS tapes I had growing up, and I watched the fucking shit out of it. Like, well, I say that. I used to fast forward it to the lightsaber battle at the end, to the point where I broke the tape. But yeah, the whole lightsaber battle with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul is still some of the best action that's ever been in a Star Wars film. Duel of the Fates, what a score by John Williams. Even the pod racing scene, I used to like that. I had a pod racing game, and I know that's why they put it in there, but you know, I was a kid when this came out, and all the stuff that was meant to appeal to kids did appeal to me, and you know, because I'm just the adult version of that same kid, I still grew up in that time, I now have nostalgia for those things. So yeah, the Phantom Menace. Alright, Zoe asks, 3 films with the best visuals. They don't necessarily have to be good movies. I think 2001: A Space Odyssey has to be on there. Just Kubrick's one-point perspective, and there are so many iconic shots in there, and they're like symmetrical, and they use one-point perspective, and they're just so good, and the colours pop, and the contrast is high, and yeah, 2001's got to be in there. There are several shots off the top of my head that I can think of. And then you've got the whole like Stargate sequence, which is not like a shot, it's not necessarily like a piece of cinematography, because I guess it's like visual effects, but that whole thing is amazing. So yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Maybe The Tree of Life. I think that's a movie that that'll be another film I'd list earlier, actually, is like critically acclaimed and beloved movies that just didn't kind of hit me. For me, that film is very detached and very cold, and yeah, it's not a film that I would ever watch again, I don't think, but I think it was very good, and Terrence Malick is a very good director. And Chivo, or Emmanuel Lubetsky, the cinematographer, he shot that film using natural light. He uses all these like weird ass like Dutch angles and like fisheye lenses and stuff. It's probably not fisheye, but you know what I mean, like kind of distorted lenses, and it kind of makes everything just look really grand and epic, and all the buildings and stuff are massive, and the colours are bright, and like it's kind of got this like soft focus natural look to it. So yeah, Tree of Life. And then I'm gonna go with a more recent film. I'm gonna go with Blade Runner 2049 because Roger Deakins is a fucking genius. Marvin123 asks, favorite directors, are you a fan of Denis Villeneuve? TV shows you're watching at the minute? Are you excited for the new Blade film with Mahershala Ali? Should Joaquin's Joker get a sequel or be a one-off? Favorite directors, that was my last video, so go check that out. But probably my top three are Edgar Wright, Quentin Tarantino, and Damien Chazelle. Do I like Denis Villeneuve? I do like Denis Villeneuve. I think he's maybe the best filmmaker working today, certainly top 3, top 5. I think he's very, very good, and I think Dune could legitimately be next level. Like, if there's any film that I've got my eye on that I think could be a fucking game changer and just the next big thing, Dune is the one. I think Dune could be absolutely just, yeah, like I say, next level shit. I think it could be amazing. That said, Denis Villeneuve, other than Blade Runner 2049, I don't tend to rewatch his films because they're all very dark. Incendie, Prisoners, Sicario, like I've never felt like rewatching any of them because they were just so dark and so kind of intense. But I mean, that's a credit to the filmmaking itself. But yeah, I think Denis Villeneuve's a very good director, but he hasn't made like any of my favourite films or anything like that. TV shows I'm watching at the minute. So I've just started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. Never seen it before. I remember like catching the odd episode as a kid, but it's like super high rated on IMDb. Everyone says it's great. It's on Netflix, so just started watching that. I've liked it so far, but I've not seen anything amazing yet. So still kind of set up. And I'm always watching Friends. Like literally, my whole life is just me watching Friends on repeat. Am I excited for the new Blade film with Mahershala Ali? Actually, I'm not. And listen, Mahershala Ali is a fantastic actor, and you know, the MCU is very consistent, and I'm sure when it comes out I will really enjoy it, and I'm sure once we see a trailer for it I'll be buzzed for it. But Blade is one of those franchises where I watched the first 2 as a kid and I thought they were kind of fine. Like I watched them once and I thought they were fine, but I never like fell in love with them. I've never revisited them since, which I should do at some point. But no, Blade, I can't really remember a lot from the Blade films, and yeah, I've not seen a trailer or anything yet, so right now I'm not, but am I right in saying it's maybe going to be R-rated? Because that would be cool, but I don't know, maybe I've just made that up. And what was the last one? Should Joaquin Phoenix's Joker get a sequel or be a one-off? This is actually really tough. My brain says one-off, my heart says sequel. I think ultimately they kind of captured lightning in a bottle with Joker, and I don't think that they could do the same thing with a sequel. But I believe Joaquin has said if there's a good enough script circulating, then he may return for a sequel. But I don't know how that would work. Would there be a really young Batman in it? Would it just be Joker doing Joker stuff? I don't know. I think it would be best to leave it where it is, but I would not be sad if they announced they were doing a sequel. Hiruki or Hiraki, I can't tell because my handwriting is shit. Favourite film that you would never watch again? So I kind of have 2 films popped into my mind when I heard that. One was The Green Mile, and the other was very recent, which is The Irishman. Both of those films are very good, but they've both got run times of 3 hours plus. They're both very dark. They're both very kind of sad and have this kind of depressing tone to them. But I really liked them both when I was watching them, and I was really emotionally invested. But I genuinely don't know if I'll ever watch either of them again. Once Thingy asks, most accomplished actor of the 2010s. Okay, now, this depends if you're talking about performances or filmography or what. So I think if we're looking at filmographies, it's between Leonardo DiCaprio and Ryan Gosling. Because Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm not even going to name every film he's in, just like the big ones, but Shutter Island, Inception, Django Unchained, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Revenant, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is insane. Ryan Gosling, Blue Valentine, Crazy Stupid Love, The Ides of March, fucking The Place Beyond the Pines, The Big Short, The Nice Guys, La La Land, Blade Runner 2049, First Man. Again, he was in more than just that. They're just like some of the highlights. Drive, I didn't even fucking mention Drive. So I think those 2 had the best filmographies. In terms of who gave the best performances, I know it's kind of a cool pick at the moment because he just won Best Actor, but genuinely, probably Joaquin Phoenix. He won a Best Actor Oscar for The Joker. And in my opinion, that's not even his best performance this decade. I think his performance in The Master is even better than his performance in Joker. I think his performance in You Were Never Really Here was really good. Inherent Vice, Her. I've not seen The Sisters Brothers yet. That's one that I need to watch. But everything I've seen Joaquin in has been fantastic. He's given a whole range. He's done villainous roles. He's done sympathetic hero roles like in Her. He's done very serious and dark things. He's done comedies with Inherent Vice. So probably Joaquin Phoenix if we're talking about performances. Yeah. But then, you've got Jake Gyllenhaal and Christian Bale and people like that, so yeah. Fives asks, best and worst Nolan film, same for Scorsese, and same for Tarantino. So Tarantino, I think his best film, I actually think his best film is Inglourious Basterds. I think he's able to do things with tension in Inglourious Basterds that he's not able to do in, I think Pulp Fiction is his best written film, probably. But I think just the directing and the kind of master of his craft that's on show, and the audacity and the kind of ambitiousness, I think, is there in a way that it's not in Pulp Fiction in Inglourious Basterds. And I think Hans Landa is, like maybe the second or third best villain of the 2000s, and I think he's one of the most. For me anyway, I think Christoph Waltz's Hans Landa trumped any performance in Pulp Fiction. Yes, Jules Winfield is very memorable, and side characters like Winston Wolfe. But I think what Christoph Waltz was able to do with Hans Landa and the way that he was written by Tarantino is just unprecedented. So yeah. So I think Tarantino's best is Inglourious Basterds. I think his worst is Death Proof. Nolan, I think his best is. It's between The Dark Knight and Inception. I'm gonna go with. I think I'll probably go with The Dark Knight. I know it's the obvious answer, but it's just a fucking thrill ride from beginning to end, and it's just consistently entertaining. Heath Ledger gives one of the best performances of all time, and yeah, you look at the cast. You've got fucking Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine. Aaron Eckhart. I mean, there are so many moments in that movie as well that, I remember watching him for the first time and just being like when he rolls over in the hospital bed and he's Two-Face and just the gore. I remember seeing that for the first time and just being like, holy shit, what the fuck? And the whole hospital blowing up and so many scenes that the interrogation scene, one of my favorite movie scenes probably of all time. So I think I've got to get it to The Dark Knight. His worst film, it depends what you class as a Nolan film at this point, because I would give it to Following, but then that seems unfair because it was a student film and he didn't have funding at that point. So then, do I give it to Insomnia? But then if I'm giving it to Insomnia, he didn't write the film, so is that fair? So at that point, maybe Dark Knight Rises? I don't know. But even then, I want to stress that The Dark Knight Rises, even though people kind of shit on it, I think it's a very underrated film. I think it's still one of the better superhero movies out there, and I would still rate it 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah. Scorsese, best, Goodfellas. Worst that I've seen would be Gangs of New York, but I've not seen every Scorsese film. I've seen about 10, 11, 12, something like that. So the worst one I personally have seen is Gangs of New York. All right, Hiruki or Hiraki again asks, a filmmaker you would love to have a long chat with. Come on, you know this. It's Kevin Smith. It's got to be Kevin Smith. There's no other option. All right, Kima Hef asks, favorite performance in not so good movies. Ewan McGregor in the Star Wars prequels I would put up there. Michael Fassbender in Alien Covenant, I thought he was really good, even though I thought that movie was just predictable and boring as shit. And James McAvoy in Glass, they would be my picks for that. So what I think I might do here, guys, is I think I'm going to leave it here, and then I'll do a second video and we'll continue it. So I'll do it in 2 parts, and I'll have that to you about a week after this. So don't forget to follow my social media links. I'll drop them in the description down below. But I've got my Twitter, I've got the Fried Gold Twitter, I've got the Fried Gold Letterboxd account as well. Thanks a lot for watching this. Thank you again for 1,000 subs. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you in a week with part 2 of this Q&A. Catch you then.